Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where it's another beautiful day in the Eifel Mountains, but it's time to get back on the road with a long slog ahead of us with the two Ferraris all the way 750 kilometers from here at the Nurburgring to Denmark. That means we're crossing a lot of Germany in a 1000 horsepower Ferrari on the Derestricted Autobahn, and I think you can probably guess what that means we're in store for. Now, we've had an amazing time at the Green Hell doing some laps with the SF90, we even did a lap with the GTC4 Lusso, and also had some fun on the Nordschleife and also at the GP track that you can hear in the background here with my Huracan STO, which was taken back home to the Shmeemuseum by Brad and Tony, and the vlog of that journey is on the Shmeemuseum channel. Today though, we're continuing this running in tour, so to speak, having picked this up only about 2 weeks ago in Maranello, already 2,000 kilometers on the Odo, and now we're going to add another 1,500 or 2,000 more going to Denmark and back for a couple of things. One, you can probably guess, we're going to be visiting Zenvo for an update on my TSR-S. We're going to cross the border also over to Sweden. I think you might know what's over there. And we've got a few other things lined up too. So let's get ready. It's a long old drive ahead of us, 1 or 2 stops along the way, but it's time to take the SF90 on the Autobahn on our way to Denmark. As mentioned a few times before, when it comes to a car like the SF90 Stradale, one of the problems is that there's not a whole lot of luggage space. In fact, in here, it's kind of one bag. That's it, because you have the electric motors up front, part of what gives it that instant torque and ridiculous amounts of horsepower, which is one of the reasons why we have the GTC4 Lusso with us, which is loaded up. We are currently 3. We need to pick up Shmee along the way, whose car is over at Alpha N. But as I said, the weather's nice, it's all on side. Let's hop on board and get this started. This means in here we can go, do you know what, let's have the noise. Let's go qualifying. It's so cool the way it fires that up off the, I guess, electric starter motor. We actually have full battery charge, so we could go full EV at the moment if we wanted. So our first checkpoint is about half an hour away. The Lusso is in tow with Benzene Ben, but we're going to head out with this very grumbly V8 at the moment, running a complete cold start actually, because we just had to go and deal with some video files and that kind of stuff. Life on the road when we're doing these kind of trips. Hopefully we can pull on out and make our way. We're kind of in the middle of the boulevard area at the moment. So we've got the Nurburgring sign. It's still super busy. It's been an amazingly busy weekend. It always is at Easter. A lot of people coming out to enjoy almost the season opener, you could say. That guy in that red Peugeot is absolutely on it, that just drove past us as well. And yeah, people just enjoying the nice weather because it's glorious. I mean, it's 18 degrees Celsius, it's not boiling, but for this time of year here, this is really nice. It could be snowing sometimes, and we had a great convoy to get here, chasing the Koenigsegg. So much fun with the cars. But alas, now it's time to head on, although it will not be long before returning. I can promise you that. But we'll make our way out in this direction, go enjoy some nice roads past the Nordschleife itself, and then we will go onwards from there. Pop it back into hybrid actually. Onwards from there towards some Autobahn and up across past Cologne, Dortmund, Hamburg, and up north into Denmark this evening. I do want to say a thanks to both the Satin crew, whose trailer we've just driven past, and Phoenix Motorsports, who helped out a little bit as well. But just up here, what do we have? It's always interesting to see. 718 Spider, always very nice, and I'm crawling past an electric, sorry everyone. GT3 RS MR, loads of M cars, 911s, you name it. Oh, CLS 63 shooting brake, always very cool. But for us, yeah, it's time to go for now. I kind of want to drive some more laps today, but alas, no time. We've got a long journey, and we don't want to get to Denmark too late because we've got an early start again tomorrow as well. That is one incredibly busy car park at Brünchen. Sorry for barely managing to capture that, but the number of people is just crazy. I tell you what, around here, there are some amazing roads to drive. The way the tarmac snakes through the trees here. Look at this is spectacular. The local area to the Nurburgring, and obviously with this car, and I've talked a little bit about it, I have the non-Assetto Fiorano, so it's quite softly sprung, which means as a road car, it's really pleasant. It rides some of these bumps, it just absorbs it, and it just feels really nice and enjoyable. It's a lovely car for this kind of thing, and the scenery around here is spectacular. What a place to be. gone up into performance mode just to have the engine running a little bit more, but yeah, good times right now. This is just the start. We just had our quick stop and we are now joining the Autobahn. I suspect it's probably limited initially. No, this is basically onto Derestricted Autobahn, ready to rock and roll, but the car is actually cold again because the engine has been off for a while. It's been chilling. So we're around quite a tight corner. It is so lucky that we've had amazing weather, considering that this car is actually on Sport Cup 2 tyres. Super sticky rubber, perfect for laps at the Nurburgring, not necessarily so perfect for driving in horrendous weather as we had when we came up the Autobahn from Italy. Although obviously that was a slightly different experience, considering the fact that it was pretty much snowing and not very good weather. But yeah, here, this is the thing, you get so much intake noise and just sound going on all around you. Just gently easing into things at 110 miles an hour, 180 kilometers per hour. In fact, on the passenger display here, if I press performance, you get that information on there as well, which is quite fun to be able to see it all. Yeah, speed restricted section for the moment. We have spent basically the last, I think, 50 kilometers, if not more, sitting between roadworks and very limited sections. We're now on the much more open road, and somewhere in this traffic up ahead of us is a glimpse, as we go around to the corner here, you'll see, of a red C7 Corvette Stingray, which occasionally, even from back here, I hear when it accelerates. But I tell you what, cruising along in this car at decent speed, and I have a lot of experience driving, you know, big German luxury barges, things like the 63s and the M5s, etc. And they soak up the miles at high speed because it's what they're built for. They're built here in Germany to drive on the Autobahn. Normally the Italian cars have, let's say, a little bit more flair to them, which means that they aren't quite so comfortable. The Corvette's turning off just ahead of us. But this just soaks up these miles, drives super gently, and we're in performance mode at the moment, and maybe if the car ahead pulls in a moment, yeah, there we go, the foot goes down. And it's just absolutely ridiculous, to be honest. Like, a car shouldn't really be that fast. It's totally ballistic. Although this chap is kind of left lane hogging with 2 empty lanes to the right of him, which is not so friendly. But anyway, hopefully with hundreds of kilometres, literally 362 kilometres to our next turning, hopefully we're going to get some completely open stretches. We did actually do the usual kind of prep, make sure the car is in good order, tyres are inflated to higher pressures, which you always want if you're going to be driving at high speed. Although if the average speed of the journey so far is anything to go by, it's not going to be a particularly fast journey. But let's see what happens when we make a little bit of progress away from this whole kind of built-up area around Dortmund and Leverkusen and this part. We venture further towards the north of Germany, away from the traffic and into some more open parts. I know exactly where we are at the moment because I have driven this part of the Autobahn many times. We are actually right by Manhart, who of course I visited on numerous occasions to come and drive lots and lots of different cars that they've worked on, often very quickly, down the Autobahn. And this bit of roadworks is spectacularly narrow and rather terrifying, and there's even a speed camera just there as well, though it's a 60. We're going quite far under 60 because of how narrow it is. It's always very disconcerting to me as somebody familiar with driving in the UK, how in Germany they have this kind of single barrier that goes in the middle between the lanes, which is something that would do an awful lot of damage to your car if you were to accidentally drift a few centimetres too far to the side. Blind spot monitoring, a few centimetres to the side and actually manage to catch it. That would be rather disastrous. Anyway, I don't know the road too much in this direction. 130 for now, but one of the things I did spec on this particular car is the adaptive cruise control, which you just turn on and set with the toggles on the steering wheel. Set that up for 130, although the margin for error, of course, with GPS speedos and dashboard speedos, we talk about very often, but if you're not aware, it's always the case that a dashboard has to slightly overread. It would be illegal if it underread, and due to changes obviously in tyre tread and tyre pressures and wheels on the car, there's always a small margin. So in this, dash set at 130, it's 125, 126 on the GPS. So you can set it for 134, 135, and you're still going the speed limit, which is always an interesting thing, and that extrapolates a lot more when you're at much higher speeds. Of course, at 300 or so, that 5 out at 130 has suddenly become maybe 12 out. So you need a full GPS up to see exactly how close it is when you get to those kind of numbers. Completely open road. And this is where the SF90 is just silly. I mean, that's blitzed through 300. 322 is 200 miles per hour. 322 kilometers is the exact number of 200 miles an hour. And the speed with which it's still pulling at that speed, it's 200 miles an hour. This car goes officially to 211, which is 340 kilometers per hour. But if that was anything to go by, it can go a lot quicker than that, like a lot quicker. We were a lot more than 11 miles per hour from its top speed in such a short straight. That's the absolutely bonkers thing about that. Well, we're into a speed limit section, so we'll chill it for a moment. But one of the crazy things as well with this is how it keeps the battery topped up. Every time you lift off, it regenerates the battery. Every time you lift off, it keeps it topped up. And then in qualifying mode, which I was just then, is where you have your full 1000 horsepower, and it's an adrenaline rush. It's like the speed is hard to put really into words. I mean, it's like driving in the Senna, but it's so much more stable. You know, if you mash your foot to the throttle in the Senna, the back might wiggle a little bit, and it takes a moment just to stabilize itself. And here, it's just off you go. Fast forward probably a couple of hours now, actually, and the roads are pretty busy today. There are loads of cars, like the one in front of us, that are completely stuffed to the brim. Obviously, everyone coming back from holidays or whatever it might be, and you know that obviously they can't see backwards, so they don't quite know in the same way what's behind. One thing I do quite like about this, though, we're in 8th gear, manual at the moment, 8th gear at 100 miles an hour, foot down, and it uses the electrics, and you get a surprising amount of instant go. The guy in front has kindly moved over, so you do get a whole lot of torque in 8th gear. Now, normally a car with 8 gears, it's a dual clutch gearbox, the 8th would be the overdrive. You'd basically have nothing by way of throttle, even sometimes in 7th. So this is remarkably powerful. I mean, the numbers tell more than enough story, and in fact, if I just show you on the dashboard here, go through the screens, on this one, maximum speed, we did off camera 324, which is obviously 201 miles an hour. In 5th gear though, it makes no sense that in a space that short you get to 270 kilometers an hour. Like, it's 164 miles an hour, I want to say. It's just ridiculous. It's just absolutely absurd how fast this car is. Like, I've got a heads-up display, so I don't need to look obviously down at the dash, but I keep kind of glancing at it and thinking I'm going 30 kilometers an hour less than that, 30, 40. I can't get my head around how high these numbers get as quickly as they do when you go full throttle. And unlike in the Senna, there's just no squirm. It's just go, just absolute go. Now, obviously, when the camera isn't rolling for most of this journey, it's a chill. It's in 8th gear. It's not like this 24/7. It's only when I'm trying to kind of talk about the car and explain a little bit about it. But it's absolutely fascinating to me how this technology works and how this car is so smooth at those speeds. It's not that it's undramatic, because you still feel the sensation of being shoved in the seat, and you still have the roar of the V8 behind you. But it's so different to pretty much any other car that I've driven at high speeds for fairly long distances. The only thing that's unfortunate right now is our route is heading towards Hamburg, and the navigation, and I always use Waze because it knows traffic the best. It has access to Google and Android and the full system, so it knows everything that's going on. is constantly adding new traffic ahead of us. I think there's going to be a big disaster somewhere in the Hamburg area, which is not so ideal. But hey, for now it opens up a little bit. Squirt the throttle. And again, it's intoxicating. It's utterly ridiculous that, to be honest, a car with this amount of power, what do we have there? What's lurking? Nice, Mustang. It's utterly ludicrous to me that a car that can do this, and again, 260 something, is available to effectively the general public to buy. And again, decelerating 100 kilometers an hour without even being full on the brakes. The braking is phenomenal. The braking in the SF90 Stradale is absolutely brilliant. You don't feel as planted to the ground as in the cars with loads of downforce. It's not that this doesn't have downforce. I think they say the Assetto Fiorano has 350 kilos of downforce. So this is, I don't know, 200 or something, let's say. But it's not quite as planted as the Senna or the STO, for example. What it does do, though, is pretty epic. It's just a different world of epic. In fact, we've got the Lusso at the moment. Mark is currently driving the Lusso, and he has a habit of pressing the wrong indicator button. It's really quite funny to watch. Anyway, yeah, onwards. Let's hope this traffic isn't going to be too bad. We're actually arriving right at the back of it now, it looks. I kid you not, no more than 30 seconds later, we're in a traffic jam. We kind of knew that was coming, but I tell you what, this is when we can go back into eDrive. There we go, back into the electrical whir. ED, and also up on my dashboard I noticed this. There's actually a graphic here which tells me when the external speaker is on. So when I go over 50 kilometers an hour, about 30 miles an hour, it turns off the speaker, which is obviously the pedestrian safety kind of warning that an electric car is moving, which is kind of unusual from a Ferrari. But this looks bad. This looks like a really bad traffic jam in front of us, so it's probably gonna take a significant amount of time. In fact, the navigation has added about half an hour on in total. That's not gonna be fun. It's kind of cool looking over in that direction where we have a massive container ship with a whole lot of containers. In fact, we're driving past basically the ports of Hamburg, surrounded by all sorts of transport logistics, containers, all of these kind of things. And one of the crazy things to think about is with a ship with that many containers on the back of it, my GT Black Series is currently one of two cars in a container that is one of thousands of containers that is on a ship, obviously sailing around the world, which is kind of crazy to actually think about. The traffic jam, however, is really, really dull. This has taken a long time. I'm just rocking my eDrive and enjoying it as much as possible on this very lovely sunny afternoon. Well, we're finally past Hamburg and out onto another Derestricted Autobahn, thankfully. It was a long time sitting in a whole lot of traffic, but hey, the road is open. We're good to go. I'm really enjoying 8th gear. It feels like you don't have to have all of the frantic mayhem, but you can still have a car that accelerates away pretty effortlessly up to 260 odd kilometers an hour. And I guess as the evening starts falling, the roads will get less busy as well. So 8th gear is kind of an overdrive. 8th gear is very much no more acceleration when you're at that kind of speeds, but max speed we have been is 331 kilometers an hour. Only two of my cars have I ever driven faster than that, the Senna and my original AMG GTR, the Beast in the Black Helm, which was obviously with the Rentec twin turbos. I love the confidence of the brakes in here. So good. Obviously concentration on the road ahead of me. Have a look in the mirror right now. Well, that sounded epic. That V12 is one of the greatest things ever. That was spine tingling. I think we're only about 30 or 40 kilometers now from the border with Denmark, and this is basically the only road that heads north between Germany on this route, and there are cars from so many different nationalities out on the roads. I mean, where's that from? I'm not entirely sure. Poland. Yeah, lots of cars in Poland, other countries around Europe, and look over to the left, look at that sunset. Sun just dipping down over the horizon over there, with the wind turbines all over the horizon as well, as we cruise on through. Yeah, so many Polish cars. It's another Polish car, and yeah, here are we, making the most of the last bits of open road. That's from Denmark. There's quite a lot of much slower moving traffic, we could say, end of the holidays. So I think we've probably had the, let's say, maximum fun we're going to have today. But honestly, this car is blowing my mind away. It is absolutely ridiculous. We are arriving towards the border. The speed limit is now 80 kilometers an hour. We still have 1 kilometer to go, so a slight change of pace, but quite fun to arrive here with this on the display in front of me. On this tank, 324 kilometers an hour, so 201 miles an hour. I tell you what I should really be doing right now is back into auto and into hybrid, so I can drive a little bit on electric as we cross into Denmark. I haven't driven one of my cars to Denmark for a very long time. I think possibly, oh, we're going to slow right down to 40. I think possibly the last time was when I was here with my 650S Spider on the Gumball 3000.
Do we need any kind of documents?
I don't think so, but we'll see. Before that was the previous Gumball in the Audi R8 Spider. As kind of expected, that was absolutely nothing. We just drove straight on through. So now we have a 110 kilometer per hour speed limit, so I can rediscover the delights of adaptive cruise control. Turn this on in this car, which you've set, just doing it as we go, just like this. As we discussed earlier, we can go a touch over to get that right. Done. Take it easy. We've got another 45 minutes to go till we arrive at our hotel. I suspect that's going to be about it for now, but let's see. We've made it. That was a very long drive. It has been about 8 hours door to door, thanks to all of the traffic, but 750 kilometers later, this car has now done 2,620 kilometers with almost, if not the same again, still to come on this trip. But we're here in Denmark. We've traveled with the two, and it's been to an indicated 331 kilometers an hour, which is 206, or just shy of 206 miles per hour, which is fairly insane if you think about it, especially considering there's plenty more to go. But it's joined the 200 mile per hour club. It is the third fastest of my cars that I have ever driven them to. It would potentially be the fastest on paper. The Lusso has also come very close to the 200 mile per hour club as well today. Maybe we'll have some more runs with that. But anyway, everything's unloaded. It's been a very fun adventure, and I'm really quite excited about everything that we've got in store coming up next on the Where's Shmee Euro Tour as well. So thank you very much for watching. As always, guys, your support is hugely appreciated. Stay tuned for what we've got right around the corner. That's it for this time, though. I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.